brings you to Mexico?
London in a bank, and I just decided to do something else.
Do you still code sometimes?
Sometimes.
Some financial questions?
I don't know.
How about Indians?
Let me think.
I was drinking with us.
Oh wow.
For them it was a full-time job, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm in Mexico City. Here with me is Adam Fenton, and he is the owner of Nolte, a digital agency, and which he has been running for how many years?
We've been around for about 11 or 12 years in total.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your name, you're an Englishman, right?
Yeah, you can probably tell. I don't sound very Mexican. Mm-hmm. Neither my name nor my...
Tell me about your ancestry. What brings you to Mexico?
So my wife is Mexican. We met on a tour actually, I also like traveling, and about 10 years ago now actually, I was working in London in a bank, and I just decided to do something else. So I quit and went traveling all around Latin America, and spent about a year just moving around, lived in Bogota for a little bit, and then we met in Costa Rica. She was on a trip, like a last day of her holiday with a friend, and I was just went there. Actually, my parents had come over to see me. We exchanged Facebook details, and 3 months later I arrived in Mexico and pretty much still here.
Nice. When was it?
That would have been I would have been in Mexico 9 years in April, so what's that like? Where are we now, like 2012?
Oh, how do you like it so far in Mexico?
It's pretty good. Still here. It's nice. It's got a compared to London, it's a much more kind of laid-back style of life, and the weather's better.
And the life should be cheaper than in London.
Oh, it's definitely cheaper than London. Yeah, that's not hard.
The last time I was there,
yeah,
it was super expensive.
Yeah.
Just like me, your background is software development, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about your main technology, what you work with, and.
Well, I started computer science and started work about 20 years ago in a movie post-production company. Actually started working with a system called Power Builder, which not many people have heard of by Sybase. Don't think it exists anymore. But that was like my first kind of introduction to professional programming. And I was looking after their system for work tracking. So they had a system where they actually printed like big reels of film. And I had a system that tracked that through the lab. So I was looking after that, firstly in Power Builder, and then we moved on to bb.net. And then I moved into banking in London, went to work for Morgan Stanley, was there for 5.5 years. And that was, again, with some .NET, also Java, and that's when I moved also into a business analyst role for a bit as well. After the crisis happened and it all wasn't such fun working there anymore, I decided to go traveling, like I told you. And when spent a year traveling, met my wife, and ended up in Mexico. And here I had this idea of starting my own business or freelancing to start with. So I did that. I kind of learned WordPress and started building websites. Actually, when we got pregnant with my first son, I realised I needed something a bit more stable, because with freelancing it was hard to get a good steady income. That's when I started looking around, and I met Jeff, who's my business partner on Stack Overflow. Actually, he was looking for an engineer. I recently joined as his lead engineer or CTO. We kind of formed a partnership, and then I moved to become the COO for a bit, and now I'm back to CTO again, back with running the technology for the company.
Mm-hmm. All right, so your main expertise is Microsoft stack.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't even talk about that. That was not at all actually. No, I haven't done any .NET for a long time. Now more PHP, WordPress. Was what I did a lot of. More recently the technologies we work with are Google Cloud, JavaScript, a lot of Node as well as React. We started working, I haven't had so much experience personally, but as a team we've been working with Flutter and Laravel quite a bit as well, which have been pretty good technologies for us.
And do you still code sometimes?
Sometimes, not enough actually. Sometimes I feel like I miss it, but yeah, I do still a bit. How about you? Are you still actively developing, or are you more
Well, I love this stuff since I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
So I've been developing software and I had a lot of projects on my own. So first it was a BBS software.
Okay.
Back in the day, in the pre-internet era. Do you know what a BBS is?
No.
Bulletin board system. So
Yeah. Okay.
when you connect it with other nodes, with other computers using your modem,
Yeah.
right? So the software that served your call, one of them was mine, and I was 15 years old.
Wow.
I was processing feature requests and pretty much spending all of my time in front of the computer.
Yeah.
Then I got very excited with the Linux. And I had a few open source projects, and this is how I found my first job and my first project, first customer.
Okay.
Exactly because of this, because my name was here and there, and it was pretty much well known in the community. What is the main difference between England and Mexico for you?
There's a lot of things. I mean, the language is one, like having to think and work in Spanish is like, takes more energy. But there's definitely a lot of culture difference. I think one main one that me and my wife find is like how direct English people are compared to Mexican. And in Mexico it's very unusual and like often people see it as like a personal threat when you're direct, I find. And that's something which is, has caused some arguments, but it's also quite like a hard thing to work around in business as well sometimes. I remember when I was freelancing, I had problems with some clients, where I was too direct with them and they got upset by it. That was me learning how to navigate things in Mexico a bit, but there's also something as a company that we don't want, in our culture, we want to be direct. So that's something that people who join us who maybe aren't used to working with the US or the UK or anywhere like that, like that's something that kind of needs to, we work with them to learn. Like it's not personal, it's just, we're just trying to get the best result with it.
Before Nolte, you had another company, right? It's called Solnemic.
Yeah, that was my freelance gig really. So when I arrived in Mexico, that was like I started freelancing and I decided to put a name on it rather than just use my name because I had the idea of growing it and never really worked out that way. But that was, that's where that name.
Why did you change the name?
I didn't so much change the name as when I started working with Jeff, like he already had a company with a name that he'd set up in New York. So I joined him as a partner. So we didn't change.
All right. I thought you started the company and then you opened then you established a New York footprint.
No, actually he established in New York and then together we established a company in Mexico a few years ago. Now nearly all our team is here in Mexico.
All right, so it was the other way around.
Yeah.
At first he had all of his manpower in New York.
He had a few people in New York, but a distributed team in general. Like they had people in Mexico, in Argentina, in Europe, like a few different places. So we actually decided that we wanted to form an office in Mexico, and we also, forming an office in New York wasn't really an option because the price of salaries there is just too much. So we decided in Mexico and we focused all our hiring here. So now all our team is here. Now of course with COVID we don't have an office anymore. We actually went fully remote. So that actually has been a good move for us because we had before we had an office but a work from home policy, and some people who live a long way away so they never came to the office or very rarely. And we have this split of people in the office and people at home, and that now is eliminated by just going fully remote. Like everybody's in the same level playing field, which has been good for us.
So how old was Nolte when you joined it?
I think Jeff had been running it for for like 5 or 6 years, maybe a bit more even. It was more I think it started in a similar way to my Solnamic. He started it up and then had some freelancers, and over time maybe started contracting them, and actually it's permanent and grew it a bit more. But yeah, he'd been running for a bit. But when I joined, we kind of just kind of took where he'd started from and started building from there.
All right, and is it an outsourcing business? Do you outstaff people? How does it work?
No, we're not an outsourcing business. So we are a product agency. So we produce digital products. So we have quite a good, big focus on design. So we have a strong UX, UI design. We also now do branding, which is something quite new to us from the middle of last year, and overall product strategy. And then, of course, the engineering side, QA and long-term maintenance. But we generally work on a well, in fact, we always work really on a product engagement. It's not like an outsourcing type of engagement.
Well, but you can do a product in-house, or you can outsource it to an agency which has all the means to deliver.
Yeah, I mean, we are the agency that does that. I mean, we
sometimes it's called outsourcing, at least in Eastern Europe.
It's a different model from what, because outsourcing for us, generally what's used in the States and what people know as in Mexico, is more you get the people and maybe a PM to help organise them. You don't really get the overall strategy and project. But sure, maybe it's a definition.
We call it outstaffing when you just give individual the developers or individual people to work with the customer and maybe a PM.
Yeah.
So it's more like an outstaffing model, but of course there's room for different interpretations.
Sure.
So is it difficult to do business in Mexico?
Yes and no. Some things are harder and some things probably easier. It's also actually hard for me to say because I never set up a business. I own a business in the UK. I guess in the States I have some experience from the business we do, but I find that in Mexico, when it comes to sales, it can be easier in some ways. People are much more open to being guided because they don't have as much experience with digital or products in general.
All right, so tell me about 2020. How did the pandemic affect you?
We, probably like most people, we started the year with certain goals and then in March we changed them because it was we could see that things were not going to pan out the way we expected. But overall, I think we made some good decisions with hindsight and things have been good. So one thing we did is look at all our costs, for example. We managed to reduce 10-15% of our costs back in March or April without letting anyone go, just other costs of things, services that weren't strictly necessary we can manage without.
Just ditch the office.
Yeah, that was another thing. We ditched the office when our WeWork lease ran out, so that was another cost saving. But also culturally, actually, I think that's more important than the cost saving. It made a difference to our culture that people, the people who normally work from home are now on a level playing field with those who used to be in the office. And it also, as a company, as a leadership team, we actually put effort into thinking about how can we make working from home better for everyone. So we gave people an allowance to buy a desk and equipment or whatever they need for their home office, that kind of thing. So that was good. We've also been looking just over the last year probably, we've really been working on the way we work and making this becoming more efficient and more organised. And it's been paying off in that respect. We've seen more less waste, and the team report that they feel less stressed, which is a really good thing. So I think I think the year turned out revenue-wise probably not as good as we'd hoped, but it turned out pretty good in terms of some of the changes we made and how we improved our business and our culture.
Now let's talk about sales. Where do you get your leads from?
So most of ours come by referrals or networks. So from the US, mostly from Jeff's network, and some in Mexico from my network as well. So we have experimented a little bit with some more digital sales strategies, but in the end, we managed to we were able to find enough business despite kind of referrals and growing existing accounts. That's really been our focus over the last few months has really been focused on growing existing accounts more than bringing new ones.
Don't you think this is not a scalable channel?
Sure. Up to some point we wouldn't be able to scale, but we're also not we're not driven to like grow this to a massive company. That's not the idea. It's more, we don't want. So yeah, I think at some point, we may look at other strategies, but for now, that's works for us pretty well.
Yeah, it had been working for me well, and then when I wanted to scale more, I had to introduce marketing in-house and sales, not to do it myself. By the way, your sales, are you the only one who does sales with your partner, or do you also have dedicated sales specialists?
So we just moved actually one of our PMs to like an account management. Well, mostly focused on account management because that's our focus at the moment, but he also deals with new business as well. But yeah, up to then, we've mostly been heavily involved in the process, not leading all of it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Some financial questions. If you don't like them, just skip. So how do you price your work?
We basically just build time and materials, and then we price. So traditionally, like before, we would try and work out approximately how many weeks of work would we need to get something done, and give an estimate to the client based on that. Now we're moving more towards a model of continuous iteration. So we're looking more to say, we also use a process called growth-driven design. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Okay, cool. So we want to work with a client maybe to do some initial kind of analysis, and then move more into maybe a project phase, and then continuous development or continuous improvement. And we try and price that based on monthly buckets. So we're okay, the first month you'll need this number of hours, next month you'll need a bigger number, or for the next 2 or 3 months, and then going down, that kind of thing. So we're trying to work out cycles like that, so we can help our clients plan their finances and ourselves plan our finances too, and our capacity.
Yeah, well, we do the same. At first, we tried working on the fixed quote basis, and it was terrible.
Yeah,
because of the scope creep. I think everyone has that, because they are too sure about their abilities to predict the future. Yes. No one can. So whenever a new change request comes, or there is scope creep, all of your estimates go down. Yeah. And it's very difficult to predict. So time and materials is a very common model.
Yeah.
What do you consider a good margin?
Gross margin? Or
the margin on the project. Let's say your spends and your
the gross margin. Yeah. We aim for 55%.
55%.
Yeah,
that's a very good margin.
That's what we aim for. We don't always hit it. Okay. How about you guys?
Well, we have 40, and 40 is considered to be really good. If you do a very serious analysis of it with all of your expenses.
Yeah, but that's really just thinking in terms of the people costs. Really, not the rest of our costs come into the other buckets. So maybe the way we classify it's a bit different to yours. Okay.
Well, we just in the end of the month you can do, let's say, all of your income and all of your expenses, and that's the margin, and you can just calculate the percentage.
Yeah, in our case it can be some costs, Jira for example, or it's hard to divide that by projects.
You have to calculate it as well.
Okay, we just do that separate. So.
Where are most of your customers located?
In the US.
Where in the US?
All over actually. We have in New York, in California, Texas. The main ones that come to mind, but yeah, we don't have a very specific geographical location. There's more just places where Jess lived, like New York and Texas, I guess, and some other contacts. And then we have a few in Mexico as well, but just a handful, most of them in the US.
What kind of companies are those? What's the profile of a typical customer?
We're pretty mixed. We don't have a specific vertical. So we work with some other agencies, just creative agencies, and we do the digital engineering side for them. We also, on the product side, we work with a mixture. We've worked with like construction companies, we've worked with in food and beverage, health and wellness. So yeah, quite a mixed bag.
All right. And what are the main services that you provide?
So, overall we just call it product development, but within that there are obviously various things. So there's we do branding and product strategy and design, so UX research and UI design, and then engineering. So we will build out like the architecture, in Google Cloud normally, and as well as like the engineering back and front end, and then the QA side, so QA automation as well as manual testing, and then continuous improvements from there. And we have a product management role which kind of oversees all of that and provides like some strategic insight.
All right, what if someone comes to you for just one piece of that? Let's say just for the quality assurance, just for the UI design without development?
We ideally look for clients that are looking for like full like product development teams, but we do sometimes do maybe just design, or like I say, we often have partners that do design and we do the engineering. So when I say engineering, normally that's like the QA and the continuous improvements and there's some product management as well. We don't normally do like very small items of work just on their own, but it can depend on the client. If it's a cool client we want to work with, we might do.
And then the extent of those products. Let's say if you take a typical software as a service solution where you have a backend, front-end, mobile apps, which parts are you best at, and what's can you handle the entire thing?
Yeah, we can handle the entire thing. I don't know, hard to say what. I don't know if I would say we're much better at one than the other. We have engineers who are stronger in back end, stronger in front end, but overall, we can handle all of it.
Tell me about Nolte Care. What is it?
So that's our continuous improvement plan. So we had it's actually something that we put together more for our WordPress clients, and it really focuses on just keeping your site running, and then continuously improving it. So with WordPress, there's certain things you need to keep it running, like updating the plugins, for example. So we manage all that kind of underlying basic stuff to keep the site running. If the server goes down or something like that, we'll have alerts and we'll react to it and sort out the issues. And then on top of that, we're then looking to work with our clients to how do they really improve their websites and how can they take their websites into to achieve their goals in a better way. So we have like a continuous improvement where they generally have a bucket of hours each month, and we'll work with them to prioritize and iterate on their websites as well. So that's basically what Nolte Co is. And
and that has different packages, right? Which are priced with a fixed fee.
So we it's actually a model we're moving away from a bit this year. We're looking at different models, but yeah, that has been the model we have most of our clients are on. So there's normally like a fixed fee, like $500 a month, which is just like the basic fee just to keep the site running. And then on top of that, there'll be a number of hours, and it just, the total fee then depends on how many hours the client has in their bucket.
How do you handle the objection that you have done this site and it has to work forever?
It's a good one. We just need to explain to them like how technology works, and the fact that it doesn't just keep working forever if you leave it. We normally try and have that conversation up front as well. So it's normally part of the sales process of like when we're bringing in a new client and building a website for them or designing and building a website, we normally right from the beginning like telling them you're going to also need to budget for a certain amount each month from when we launch, and explain to them why. And most clients get it actually, but occasionally they don't, and occasionally they go off and on their own, and sometimes they come back to us, and sometimes they find out or they hire in a freelancer or someone to help them. happen. So, but yeah, we generally try and look like to bring in clients who will stay with us for a long term. Like we're not so much interested in just building a website and saying off you go. That's not as much of our model.
Right. How big is Nolte now?
17 people.
And what's the roles that those people do?
So we have engineers, the product managers, we like the designers. We have product designers who cover like UX, UI, and general like product strategy as well. And then we have a strategist as well, who is a new person who joined our team and is growing more on the product strategy and branding side.
Who does all the customer communication?
So the PM is the main one, who's day-to-day talking to the client, but we also generally have all of our team talking to the client at some point in different parts. Actually quite a few of our clients actually are in our Slack organization. They will communicate with them via that means. We find that pretty good way to collaborate. We really want to build like close collaboration with our clients, and not have like a single point of contact so they never speak to anyone else. That's not really the way we work. So it's generally the PM, but with other people in the team like joining in and asking questions and and even going off to having meetings on their own where it makes sense.
Right. So Mexico City is such a big place. Is it easy to find talent here?
No, it's not actually. It's hard, and it's there's a few reasons I think. Like partly there's competition, and that's from the US. Like I heard a statistic recently that something like 25% of the engineers in Silicon Valley are Mexican or something like that. They're all that I don't know if that's true exactly, but it goes to say that a lot of the good engineers can go and live in the States.
How about Indians and Russians?
Sorry?
How about Indians and Russians and Ukrainians?
Oh, I don't know the numbers, but probably higher. Yeah. And then there's the competition in Mexico is growing as well. Like more companies are opening offices here. Like Google has an office here, Microsoft, Core. There's a Lyft, I think recently I saw there's opening an office here. So the competition is heating up. And then I think the other thing that we found is the cultural differences. We talked about that a little bit before, but there are things, there are various things in the culture here that are different from, say, the US. So our clients expect a certain level or style of communication and things like that, and that's different from the way that people may communicate or the way they may approach work in Mexico in general. So that is also something that can be hard. And the other thing is the language as well, because we always look for people who can speak English, because we want them to be able to communicate with our clients, well, mostly in the US. So that also limits the pool.
How did you get the New York Women Forum project?
I'm sure that was a contact of Jess. I can't remember now. It's been a few years ago. But yeah, I'm sure it was one of his contacts. They were good. They're a really good organisation, actually.
What's the gender balance in your company?
Let me think. We're probably about 30-70, 30%, 70%, 30% women, 70 men. We actually had a really good balance in engineering. We had like a 50-50 engineering team for a bit, but over time that's gone, and it's even harder to hire women engineers in Mexico than men. So it's been difficult to balance that.
Right. And is it easy to retain talent? What's the average time in the company?
I don't know the number.
In general, on the market.
Oh, in the market? I don't know.
How long do people stay with one company?
I don't have numbers, but I know that in Mexico, like people do move around quite a lot from what I've seen. Like, when we hire people, looking at their CVs, it's kind of common for people to be applying for a new job within a year, even. I think our retention is better than average. We do try to build like a really good culture so people will want to stay. But there's always competition from outside, especially from other countries. Actually, it's pretty common. Or we've had engineers and other people who have found jobs in Canada or the US, and that's hard for us to compete with. There's just not just the money, but the opportunity to go and live somewhere like that.
Right. And how is your culture different from the competition, the company culture?
So we really focus on the people, and it's really important for us that, people are happy, but also that they have a chance to grow and they really take responsibility for their work. One thing that's very common in Mexico, especially in like bigger traditional companies, is the kind of micromanagement approach. Like almost every decision has to go by your manager, and that's something which sometimes when people join our team, they're a bit like lost with. They're like going and asking like, can I do this, can I do that, and their manager's like, yeah, just do it. Don't ask me, just do it. If you think that's the right thing, just do it. And that's something which we really strive to like enable people and empower them to be able to do things on their own, for them to be able to take ownership. And that is really, I feel like really grateful for those people. That's the feedback I've got as well, because it gives them a chance to really learn and grow, as opposed to feeling like they're being, pecked into exactly what their manager tells them all the time, which, also it's not a good way to manage as well, like for the manager, I don't think, and for the results you get, because I've seen it myself. I've made that mistake, plenty of times of like telling someone, well, you should do it this way, and then you don't think of something, or you didn't explain something, and they do it that way, and then it turns out not to work exactly. So yeah, that's really a big focus of ours, is like personal responsibility. And then on top of that, we want people to just feel good about their work, love their work, feel good about it, for it to integrate well into their lives. Another thing that's actually grown a bit over, especially with the pandemic, is people just working like different hours based on what works for them. They have, like I get up really early, for example, and then we finish about like 4 o'clock, so I can take the kids to the park in the afternoon or something. And quite a lot of other people in the team have been doing similar things, just to make more time for them and their families. So that's also something that I'm very supportive of. I really actually encourage people to figure out like how to meet their responsibilities at work, but have a great life as well. That's really what it's about.
Work-life balance.
Yeah,
that's very important. We also promote it.
Yeah. How do you guys promote that? Do you do anything?
Well, first of all, we don't welcome overtimes, because we know that this path always leads to burnout.
Yeah.
So we ask people not to do any overtimes. Send them on vacations if that happens.
Yeah.
And in general, we support this relaxed atmosphere, working atmosphere, where you only work for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then you are free to do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's cool.
What do you like and dislike about Mexico?
So what do I like? I mean, the weather, the food, the prices, the people, like generally, like you mentioned before, Constantine, are like pretty friendly, and like you can, it's pretty easy just to chat to someone. And in general, the way of life I find it's pretty nice, it's pretty chill. You've got a lot of opportunities as well. I think you can, as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things you can do, because there's also a lot of like space in the market for a lot of products that maybe are more mature in other countries. What do I not like? Well, we touched on the bureaucracy before, so that can be a pain, and the customer service also here is like often people don't really there's not much of a notion of customer service in a lot of places. Like, you know, you'll go to, I don't know, go to a shop or something and they'll just ignore you and chat to their friend and that kind of thing. That can be frustrating. But, you know, in general, there's things that can annoy you, but if you just go with the flow, I find it's a pretty cool place to live, pretty chill.
Right. What's your favorite project?
It's a tough one. There's a cool one we're doing at the moment actually called Stompy, which I like. You know, it's a wine club with a difference, like where they send people a box of wine every month or every period, and you rate the wines, and the algorithm learns like what you like, and you get better selections each time. And it's been like I like the project for, you know, because like I like wine, but also because it's like technology wise, it's pretty interesting as well. Like, you know, we're building out the architecture in Google Cloud, and it's been a good way to get like deeper into that.
All right. AA integration can be needed down the road.
Sorry?
AA integration.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you supply someone with wine for a long time, right? Then
yeah,
it can happen.
It
would require a support group like that.
Yeah, if we're successful, that could be a nice add-on.
Because once I was traveling with my friends in Napa Valley, and in every winery we went to, there was a bartender who was drinking with us. Like every bartender in the valley was drinking with us.
Oh wow!
we went wine tasting, and for them it was a full-time job, right?
Yeah.
And then at some point I started asking for how long they were on the job. I didn't meet the person who was there for over a year.
Yeah,
I think they all went to the rehab stage.
Sounds like a tough job. Wow.
Well, that was a fun observation. What are your plans for Nolte?
So right now, you know, our focus is on really like growing our accounts we have now. You know, we don't really have a long-term plan in terms of like, I don't know, like an exit or something. I'm not sure if that's what you mean, but we don't really have a plan like that. But it's more, we really just want to like focus on doing really good work and then kind of growing a bit more, you know, based on our reputation. So it's been, you know, so that's, I don't know, if you can call that a plan, that's our plan, you know. And you know, we also want to make the business more stable. You know, we talked a bit earlier about billing models and some changes we're making there and that kind of thing, which I think is going to be super helpful for everyone. But yeah, it's really, we just want to do really good work. I think that's really our biggest plan.
All right. And do you have any plans to start any other businesses or to invest into something?
Maybe. I mean, I've been like it's interesting you asked that now, because it's just been this year I've been kind of toying. You know, I just kind of set myself the goal of doing something. You know, launching another business or you know, and I've been like thinking about that and talking to some people, but I haven't really got any firm plans on it yet.
Any new technologies or trends that you follow?
The JavaScript is always changing. You know, there's things there like we've been looking at like Next.js and Nuxt.js and things like that. We started using Tailwind CSS last, well, must be about a year ago now, a bit more. That's been really great actually for us. Like, you know, also in general, we're looking to maybe do some more like in the machine learning space or things like that. It's something that we haven't done a lot of yet, but it's also pretty interesting for me at least.
What do you think about cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting topic right now. I mean, now, like I know earlier this month I was like worried the fact that I didn't buy more Bitcoin like 5-10 years ago, probably like everyone else in the world. I think it has like some future. Like I think it's kind of interesting the way that it's moving some of like the control of like the monetary system away from like governments and more to this decentralized model, which, you know, I think can have some benefits, but also is going to probably have a ton of risks as well that come with it. So yeah, I think it's an interesting thing, but wait and see. Who knows? What about you? Are you a crypto fan?
Well, I had never been a crypto fan before. A customer paid me in Bitcoin. So
Oh, really?
yes. So I prepaid me like a huge amount of work.
Okay.
And then I decided to just hodl it.
Well, that's
you know, the hodl.
Yeah.
Alright, so I just didn't need the money and I just let it sit there.
Yeah. So that was a good move.
but then, you know, looking at the exchange rate, you're like, oh,
Exactly.
pretty much on a daily basis, it's changing so much. But
Yeah.
what have you heard about Ukraine?
I've actually been to Ukraine.
Nice. When?
It's probably about 15 years ago or something. We went to Odessa and Kiev for a few days. I remember Odessa was pretty cool. They had all these clubs by the lake. That was fun.
By the sea. Is the
By the sea, yeah. Sorry, yeah, not like.
This summer I went there 3 times. And it was like super relaxed, like not like super crowded bars.
Yeah.
And like then I was sure that I'm bringing back coronavirus. I didn't.
Yeah, it was just normal.
I don't know. Maybe because it's a southern city, or I don't know why.
Yeah.
But many people from Kiev went there for holidays and for weekends, and it was full of people from Kiev. Actually, you could meet someone you know in the bar in Odessa.
Yeah.
And then everyone came back super healthy. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And what do you think about Ukrainian developers?
From what I can see, my experience, like Ukrainian and other Eastern European developers actually are very skilled. They do good work. Like I've worked with some, and yeah, I mean the work generally they're very good engineers. Sometimes where I struggle more with maybe some communication issues, and sometimes where maybe they've been a bit too literal, or they have maybe it's going back to the micromanagement idea. They kind of took something too literally and didn't think through it. But in general, yeah, I think they're good engineers. Sometimes I feel like it would be easier to find like a load of good engineers in Ukraine or somewhere like that than in Mexico.
I think the landscape should be very similar, because Mexico is a big country, and I'm sure there are universities that people graduate from, right? And there is talent, but also in Ukraine, right? For instance, in our company, the bar is set very high, and in this light, we cannot hire just anyone. So the English skills are required only for specific roles like project management, and the rest, if they can express themselves at least a little, in C++. Right? Remember there was a joke about the Chinese developer in America who spoke C++ to his colleague.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, and it's certainly a challenge to find like really good technical talent, but it's feasible. But for that you need to I have two recruiters in the company who are constantly sourcing talent, not only in the technical field but also in sales, marketing, and everyone else we need. By the way, how do you hire? You have recruiters, you have HR.
So we don't have any internal HR, but we use external recruiters, and a mixture of external recruiters and just our networks. We always try and hire via recommendations. We offer a bonus to the team for referrals, which we have quite a few good hires that way. And then recruiters. I mean, we also publicize in different places where engineers, or depending on the role, where they might look LinkedIn or Stack Overflow or places like that. Depends on the role. But it's challenging, I think.
Well, from my experience, hiring an in-house recruiter pays off. Because first of all, they're fully dedicated to your vacancies, right? They don't help other companies. And it's also cheaper.
I mean, right now we aren't hiring fast enough, I don't think, to justify it. In the past we did have a people and culture manager she did hiring as well as some sourcing, as well as helping improve our culture in general. So we have done that, but now since she left, we didn't replace her because we didn't feel the need to. We weren't growing that fast. So that's something that we are for now. I don't think makes sense for us. But yeah, I do get that. Working with external recruiters can be expensive and also harder to communicate exactly what's your culture, what are you looking for. Can take some more time. We've been fortunate to find a couple of recruiters in Mexico who now understand us, so we can just keep going back to them.
Finally, what would you recommend to all entrepreneurs and founders?
In general? Or?
Yes, in general.
Wow. Well, perseverance is one I would start with. It's maybe obvious, but it can be scary, to get over. There's some fears to get over, I find. Is my idea going to be stupid? Are people going to laugh at me? Is it just going to fail? And think about if you're starting if you work full time or you have an income, think carefully before you give that up. Can you kind of bootstrap and start to build something, get momentum before you do that? I definitely think that's a good idea. Yeah, one thing that I've definitely found is focus on people and culture and your management style. I think that I've learned that if you really understand what your culture is, then and you hire the right people, it makes a huge difference. Because if you hire the wrong people, you spend a lot of time and effort, and it's very painful. And that's a lesson I've learned the hard way. So and when you get good people, really take care of them and think about keep the communication open with them so you understand what they need, what they're looking for in their careers and their lives, so they want to stay with you.
All right, Adam, thank you for this conversation. It
was a pleasure.
Yeah,
thank you.
It was very insightful. It was very interesting to hear about your experience. Very unusual, by the way, that an Englishman does business in Mexico.
Yeah.
In the IT. So
yeah.
I'll certainly bring home some interesting information and insights from here.